Welcome to episode 148 of the Twim Show. This is host Sajid Islam, and today I'm going to go over the notable news and updates in the digital marketing space from the week of February 13 through 17, 2023. First off, on Pinterest, Pinterest has now relaunched or launched their refreshed Pinterest Academy platform, which is basically if you want to learn anything about Pinterest and you're new to it, you can go to pinterestacademy.com and go ahead and take those courses and learn everything that you need to learn about Pinterest, mostly and mainly about Pinterest ads. With that, let's move on to the next one. Google Business Profile Strength widget is now live, and I just noticed that I have the word profile twice on the slide decks. After this show has been recorded, I'm going to go ahead and take one of those profile out. But anyway, coming back to the update itself, is last June Google began testing a profile strength widget on your status icon that showed you if you need to do more with Google Business Profile or not. So it's just like if you go into Google Ads and you see there is this thing where you write ads, especially these now that expanded text ad is gone, but there is this other that dynamic text ads. You can put 5 headlines and 5 descriptions and 5 call to actions, and then Google is going to say how good your ad is and things like that. Google's testing with this Google Business Profile, which sounds like at a high level, it's great. However, a lot of people are complaining, especially SEO experts, is because one of the things, like one of the SEO experts have posted on Twitter, like, hey, he got dinged, he got a lower score because he did not create a Google Ads account. Right? WTF, Google, what's going on? I agree with this SEO expert because it shouldn't be tied to it. But again, Google is in the business of making money, and this is their way of giving you let's say 60 out of 100. And now they say, hey, you can get 20 more points if you now go create a Google Ads account, and you're going to be higher. To an unsuspecting business owner or a new marketer, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I need to do this, so let's go create a Google Ads account. Now, once you create a Google Ads account, Google is going to go ahead and send you this coupon which says $200 off or $500 off from your first Google Ads, whatever. You're going to get $500 off from your first time you run ads. Okay, because I got one for one of my accounts recently. So again, the unsuspecting business owner is going to say, yeah, let's go spend $500. But for you to get the $500 credit, you need to spend $500. So, okay, you're going to spend it. And then guess what? You are probably not someone who knows Google Ads very well. You will quickly run out of budget. And now Google is going to nudge you. Hey, you know what? You could have gotten 50 more views, 50 more visits to your website if you spend another $100. And the loop starts, right? And you get into this game, and then you start spending money without getting a lot of results. That's number one. Number two is that, like, in the meantime, Google sales rep, by the cover of Google account rep, is going to start calling you up, reaching out to you, emailing and saying, hey, I'm your Google rep for this quarter, and I'm going to help you. By the way, not all business owners get an account rep, so you must be really lucky that Google assigned me to your business. So I'm going to help you, and you take advantage of that, and you're going to end up spending more money. You don't believe me? Go ahead and give it a try. Aside from that, there's nothing else to cover. By all means, go for it. But again, my thing is to bring you the news. I brought you the news. I gave you my analysis, and it's all up to you. Next up, Google's John Muller dislikes keyword-rich domains. But first, what are keyword-rich domains? Keyword-rich domains are domain names that have the keywords in them. Like one great example is cheapiPhoneRepair.com. Right? So if you're a business that repairs iPhone and then you do it for cheap, you could go for cheapiPhoneRepair.com. And in the early days, this was very popular. This goes back pre-2014 because I remember back in 2014, even Bing's search engine spokesperson wrote a blog post, and obviously it's no longer active, but if you want to find it, you have to go through the link in Wayback Machine, which, by the way, I have put the link into my show notes. So if you really want to read that, go into the show notes and you will see that. But, this is a very old tactic. But what John is saying, and John, this is something he said it last November as well, or 2021 as well. Overall, these rich keyword domains are not really helpful anymore because obviously the search engine algorithms have gotten smarter. They can read a search website and then figure out, what you're talking about, you don't really need to put a domain name that's rich keyword. That's number one. Number two is people think you're a spammer because spammers nowadays are using a lot of those domains. Number three, changing business focus or even expanding is a lot harder. Think about the cheap iPhone repair.com. Now they have iPads. How are you going to put cheap iPhone repair iPads in cheap repair? Cheap iPhone repair.com. You probably have to cheap iPad repair. Now you have two websites to manage, or you could have to change the domain name. Voila, you have a problem in hand, right? So it might be a better idea for you to do just something like cheap, smart, cheap repairs. I'm just taking examples, thinking out of the blue. For us, we have market and grow. We don't have Google ads and grow, right? Even though we do our search engine marketing.grow. So we kept a very high level kind of thing to when we do marketing, we want you to grow, but we wanted to pick the market and grow. Again, the third thing, and it ties very nicely with what I'm gonna say, is like you have no brand name. If you are doing a cheap iPhone repair, you really cannot build a brand. You cannot really do anything else. For us, market and grow, we can build a brand. We are going to write, we are just trying to establish market and grow as a brand. So I think that helps you. John Muller does have some compelling points. Now, the other aspect is that if you Google the word, keyword rich domains, you will get a lot of blog posts that talks about why you should do it even now in 2023. There are tools you will find that tells you that's going to help you find keyword rich domains. Use it as you see fit, but I would say just you can use this for ideas and thinking of a new business name, new domain name, but definitely you want to create a business and a domain that's aligned with your business name. Okay, I hope that helps. Let's move on to the next update. So the next update is about how do you use structured data if you're a service-based business. During recent Google SEO office hours, a user asked, hey, I have a service-based business and I'm using the product structured data. However, the challenge is that my price range varies, right? For a product, pencil is a pencil and it costs 50 cents. You can be specific, but if you're a service business, say you provide plumbing, and your job could range from $100 to show up to all the way to $2,000. How do you provide that range? And and this person was using product structured data, and obviously Google threw an error message back to him. So John Muller is saying, that and he assumed that this is a local business, since you're a service provider, but he's saying, why don't you use the local business structured data? Okay, because local business structured data allows you to specify a range. Now, the question is the schema.org, which is basically the schema website. In that, they say product structured data needs to be used and can support service-based businesses. However, Google product structured data does not specify, service-based businesses. So for service-based businesses, you really have to go and use local business structured data if you are trying to show up in Google search. And my question to you, and this is a question to yourself as well, who do you want to listen to? Right? And if it was on to me, I would say listen to Google, because that's where you want to show up, because listening to schema.org is not going to really help you. By the way, schema.org is a non-profit organization where Google puts money, Bing puts money, Yandex puts money, and basically it's a industry association. So the industry association can say things, but Google does things the Google's way. So up to you what you want to do. But if it was up to me, I would definitely go and listen to John Muller and start using local business structured data for services. And by the way, we are a service-based business, so we should be using local business structured data as well, even though we are still local, even though we service all around the US, but we have a physical presence here in Fairfax, Virginia, so we are local. Next up, and this was something covered in episode 136, back in the day, Google had launched, which is in November 2022, Google launched a new catch-all spam policy called Policy Circumvention. It wasn't very clear, so now Google came out and updated it, and it basically made more human-friendly language. Other than that, there's nothing else for you to know. One thing you need to know, and one thing you should keep in mind is obviously, and I know our listeners are not trying to do this, is don't try to game the Google search algorithm. Don't try to create competing website. Don't try to create duplicate website. Don't do anything that will really get you banned, because trust me, I've seen this. If Google bans you, you cannot come back into anything. You can change your computer, you can change your IP address, you can change your credit card, you can change your name, you can change your business card. Somehow or the other, Google has this smart, intelligent algorithm where it figures out and connects that it's the same person trying to come back into the system. So that's all you should know. But if you really want to know what their policy, circumvention, spam policy is, go ahead and check out the show notes. And talking about policies and everything, Google updates their SEO link best practices document. The link is also in the show notes. You can jump onto it if you really want to. But here are some of the highlights. There's 7 of them, right? To make your links crawlable, Google recommends you to use full URL over relative URL. Anchor text, which is also known as the link text, is visible text of the link. Google tells people, Google encourages you to place anchor text between the href elements so that Google can crawl. If you don't use anchor text, Google is going to attempt to use title attribute. For image links, Google is going to use the alt attribute. Number 3, Google advises you to write good anchor text that is descriptive, concise, and relevant to the page that is on and to the page it links to. I'm just reading it and I just realized there are a lot of spelling mistakes and like grammatical mistakes. Other than that, number 4, you should cross-reference your own content when possible, which is basically cross-linking. So if you have like an article on your another article that your users would find or readers would find helpful, link it, but don't overdo it. Number 5, use the nofollow attribute when linking to an external site and you're unsure about the reliability of the site or you don't want to pass on the SEO juice. Right. For example, if someone writes a bad review or something bad mouthing your company, you want to reference that article, but you don't want to give them, any SEO credit or anything like that. You can use that nofollow. If you're paid for that link, you can write sponsored or nofollow. If users insert links on your website, say if you have a user-generated content, or if you're like a Quora or Reddit type website, you can use the tag add. You can add UGC or nofollow. And again, remember last November, Google said external links would be less important as a ranking factor in the future. So it doesn't really pass. And going back to the 5th example, you may not really pass on a lot of SEO juice, but if someone is writing bad things about you and you really don't want to pass it on, you should obviously use nofollow. I hope that's helpful. Let's move on to the next one. Googlebot will ignore the no index during the 301 redirects if you do not put no index on the final page. This is a question that came up and someone asked Gary Ellis, hey, if I have no index on my first page, but that page again then redirects into a second page, which is a 301 redirect or 302 redirect, depending on how it was set up. And if that page, will Googlebot honor that request? So Gary Ellis says, hey, look, we will only honor, and again, he wasn't also sure, but he's saying we can only honor if that final page also has a no index, a no follow. So the question is, I'm not sure why you would redirect. I mean, there are many reasons why you would have to redirect a page, because the URL changed, because you had it points to an old domain and now it's a new domain. For whatever reason, you have to do a redirect, which is a 301 or a 302. But if you have no index, you want to have the same no index on the final page, on the new URL. If for some reason you forget, then it's not Google's fault, right? I hope it helps. So what it matters is before you start doing redirecting, you should start looking at what are the attributes on this page that I want to keep and may not want to keep, and just make it simple. You may want to change that attribute on the starting page and you remove no index, and then you just have higher chance. Hope this helps. Next up is about CDNs, which is something like a lot of business owners use Cloudflare, and that's the most used ones. And then you will see sometimes when you go to a website, it will say Cloudflare will say, which is Content Delivery Network. The CDNs are meant CDNs like Content Cloudflare will say, hey, hang on. before you go to market and grow, so assuming we are using Cloudflare for our CDN so that our websites load faster on the user end, the people who are accessing our website, but if Cloudflare interrupts and injects this page where it says, hang on a second, I need to verify if you're human or not. If that is happening, Google is saying that could actually be detrimental for your SEO crawling. Because what they're saying is like, look, sometimes if this is prompting, it shows up during a crawl process, Google is not going to be able to crawl your website. So you decide whether you want to engage into, if you want to use a CDN, if so, how. Now, there are a couple of things I think it comes into the discussion, which is number one is, yes, you can tweak this setting on Cloudflare that says, how strict do you want to be? You could just say, set it at a minimum threshold so that it doesn't pop up. The other thing is that I would say, Googlebot's IP addresses are pretty static. They don't change. So chances are Cloudflare will not flag those IP access requests. Maybe it will do for Bing. Maybe it will do for Yandex or whatever other search engines are. Business owners use this for to prevent spammy websites from sending too many requests and doing a DDoS attack, denial of service attack. So this is definitely CDN, something you need. You want CDNs for your site to load faster. So if I'm in Virginia, I would like to have a copy of my website, Market and Grow, load from a CDN network that's in Northern Virginia or maybe New York versus getting it loaded from, say, somewhere from Europe or Asia, just because it's going to be a little longer. It's going to add 2 or 3 more extra seconds. And yes, it might sound very simple, like 2-3 seconds. But trust me, when you're waiting and that page is like, that wheel is spinning, you are going to get pissed off and you're going to bounce back and go to somewhere else. All in all, I would say that this is not the end all be all thing. This is Google's recommendation, but I think what you should do is take this recommendation and figure out, hey, what can I do? Maybe this is why you need to not just have a marketing team, you need to work in conjunction with the tech team who understands and kind of tweak it and play around and see what's going on. Look at the Cloudflare logs and figure out, are we putting up too many pop-ups? How can we reduce the threshold, but at the same time, keep the spammers and scammers away and let the good bots get in, okay? Next up, this is just something that has popped up, which is Google Ads is testing disabling opt-out of search partners and display networks. And, I wish this was a joke or this was something incorrect, but it is true because Google Ads liaison Jeannie Marvin confirmed that Google is testing. Now, if you go back and look at any of my videos or look at it in my blog post, all I say is for Google Ads, every time we run ads, we uncheck these 2 boxes. We disable search partners and display network because you do not know who Google search partners are. We don't want to mix and match and show our ads to display network. Now, there is a way to disable this thing. It's just not easy. Again, if you're a new person running Google Ads or a business owner who don't really pay attention, you will think Google is telling you this is the right option, which is not. It's just a way for Google to make more money, believe it or not. Why do I say that? It's because, trust me, we have run ads. We've seen ads. We've seen this thing. You don't get the insights. You don't get the stuff that you need. Jeannie Marvin is trying to paint it as we are doing something great because we've seen our users end up making a lot more money and a lot more results when they are opted in versus opt out, blah, blah, blah. I don't agree. I disagree. But again, Google is in the business to make money. Like I said about Google Business Profile. So Google wants to increase their revenue, and the only way to do it is to nudge people to spend more money and take as much money as possible. Moving on. Instagram launches channels broadcast chat feature. I'm not sure why they call it chat, because it's not really chat. It's a one-way thing where you could actually, because it's a broadcast chat, right? Which will support text, images, polls, all within IG Direct. IG Direct, it's basically a group messaging function within the app where you can stay up to date on specific topics, brands, people, etc. To me, it's a quasi WhatsApp within IG. Again, Instagram is welcome to do what they think is necessary to keep users coming back, to engage on the platform, to stay longer so that they can show them more ads. And this is one way. But other than that, if you are interested, you can sign up for early access. The link is in the show notes. Talking about features, Instagram has announced that they are gonna kill live shopping as of March 16th. Now, if you've been listening to my show, you know I'm not a big fan of live shopping, even though it's a huge thing in the Asian market, and I've always said, like, it does not make sense for the North American market, just because time is so expensive and valuable here in the North American markets. That's one of the reasons why we outsourced and sent a lot of the manufacturing and low value jobs out to the Asian market, because they can do it cheaper and whatever. So I guess lesson for Instagram: don't blindly, or even for business owners, don't just blindly copy. Just because it's working in one region, it's not going to work on the other. I mean, I know YouTube has a live shopping, so does TikTok. We'll see what they do, but I'm quite sure they're going to fold this thing in the future, because it never really struck me. Why am I, again, maybe it's just me, why am I going to take the time to wait on to get on a show and watch this? I mean, there's QVC on TV, but I think it's a very different segment. And because TV, you can leave it running and you can do other stuff, but for phones, you have to be in the phone. You cannot really, it's not a big enough screen where you can just leave it on and do your chores and things like that. So I'm going on this for longer than necessary, but I'm just trying to figure out why it worked and why it not. Maybe we should do a mastermind session one day and figure out what really happened, but I do not know what really happened, because Instagram will never share that with us. We can be outsiders, kind of brainstorm on things and ideas, but what I think is it definitely didn't make the numbers that Instagram was hoping for, and it's time to kill the feature. Talking about features, Meta has announced Meta Verified. Gandhi once says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. So everyone was ridiculing, as well as up in arms for Elon Musk charging about $8 a month or so to do a Twitter verification scheme, and now Mark Zuckerberg has saying they're gonna charge it. How amazing is that? So they're launching a test subscription right now. It's called Meta Verified. It's going to include a verified badge which authenticates your account with government ID, proactive account protection, access to an account support, increased visibility and reach. They have already starting a test in Australia and New Zealand, and then they're planning to bring it to the rest of the world. Okay, folks, there you go. Now you know everything that you need to know. Take care. Until next week. Bye-bye.